Hey there, my name is Christy Wilkins, and I am the team lead for Christy & Co. And this is just a little introductory piece that I wanted to send over to you to help save us some time when we actually get to speak regarding the listing of your property. But to get started, I just wanted to share with you some of the things that make our team different, as well as just what we'll be doing for you from a marketing standpoint. So when we do get together, I wanted to share with you that I will, of course, answer any questions you have around this little snippet that we're doing today. So please do feel free to take any notes and bring back questions to me. And we will also cover the numbers at that point in time. I definitely want to discuss with you what to expect from the standpoint of buyers and appraisers and how we're going to be strategic about pricing your property and making sure we get you the best price and terms. So diving into the marketing side of things, I often like to say that realtors do the 3 Ps of real estate. They put a sign in your yard, put you in the MLS, and then pray to God that somebody else sells your house. And so we're going to be a little bit more aggressive about our approach. We do a 4th and 5th P, which is that we do prospecting every day. You will have probably seen, if you've read our listing package, that we have a number of agents that are on the team. Everyone is licensed that's on our team, and we've got buyer's agents, myself, who focuses on the listing side of things and sellers, and then we've got a couple of administrative people and an operations manager and a girl that handles all of our contract to close and basically covers all of the details of making sure that you have a smooth experience once we go under contract. With that being said, when we do the prospecting, we have a number of the team members who will be reaching out on a day-to-day basis to find buyers for our sellers. We have a database currently of over 3,000 people, so we have quite a lot of people that we can comb through to see who might be an option for your particular home. And in addition to that, we do price watching. And so I will be checking on a weekly basis to see what's been going on with the market and what's happening with our inventory levels. If you remember back when the market crashed in 2007 through 2013, you probably knew some people who were on the market for well over a year, and you probably saw a lot of price drops. And so what we were finding is that people would be priced up here, the market would be here. They'd drop the price, and then the market would have dropped again, and they'd lower their price again, and the market had already dropped again. And so they did what we referred to as chasing the market. And so if you had an agent like me back then, essentially that would not have happened to you, because we were keeping a close eye on what was happening with those levels and then advising our clients on how they could capitalize on grabbing the very elusive buyers that were out there at that time to position them to be one of the first listings to sell. Accordingly, if we have a really strong market and there's low levels of inventory, then that's the time where I want to make sure I'm advising you that we can stay really firm on our listing price and not have to do a lot of negotiation or coming down in pricing. So that's why so many people do hire me, because we are consistently keeping a close eye on what's happening out there in the market and making sure that we're advising our clients in that way. I'm guessing communication might be important to you. I'm hoping so. I know it's important for us, and it's certainly important for buyers. They demand it and expect that they are going to be receiving quick phone calls back and turnarounds when they submit contracts and that sort of thing. But the other layer of communication for you is that we will be following up with you on a weekly basis to let you know what we've seen from a feedback standpoint and what types of things have been happening with the market, and making sure that you understand what we've done to market your property for that week. And so talking about just some of the pieces around feedback, we have a very strategic way that we go about that. Everything that we do on our team is very well thought out, and there's a reason behind all of it. So when we send out our feedback form, as soon as the agent accesses the lockbox at your house, they receive our feedback form. And once that agent fills in that feedback, you and I receive that information back at the same time. We ask some very important questions, like on a scale of 1 to 5, how did we rank? What you want to see are people ranking your home as a 5, because that means that an offer is going to be coming. If you are ranked as a 4, you're essentially running with the pack. And so basically the buyer either didn't see something that was appealing to them that day, or they did, and someone else was the 5 and not you. If we see that you're receiving anything from a 1 through a 3, that means we are not in the right price point because they're seeing other homes that have better features and benefits or are just priced better. So it's a really good tool for us, especially when we're communicating with you on that week-to-week basis to make sure that we're on the right course to get you under contract. So we'll definitely be staying in close contact on that. Another thing that I find that is definitely vitally important is the intranet, because 94% of buyers are going to go to the intranet first. When you hire a Keller Williams agent, you're getting the best of the best because we are the #1 company in the world. They spend more marketing dollars than any other group per month. And so I would find it interesting if you could actually find a website that you're not put out on. In addition to that, Christie & Co. has taken more steps and brought on an additional website. Most agents are given a templated website, and with that, buyers can't ever find them unless they happen to actually know that web address because they're under the umbrella of their company, and so it's just impossible. There's so much data and information out there to actually find you. So we did do a website outside of the templated site and hired a search engine optimization group to build us up the pages in Google. We also do Google Ads, and so we get a lot of our leads through that resource. And in doing that, it's just allowed us to be more visible, to the consumer, which then makes you more visible. So it's definitely an added value for you. Talking about our timing on market. So even the day that we go live is strategic. And so typically what we like to do is have our listings hit on a Wednesday because it's historically shown that buyers and their agents, for the most part, are going to be getting out there on the weekends. And so they start to plan around that Thursday and Friday. So if we have you hitting on a Wednesday afternoon, you're prepped and ready to go. We like to think of you as the coming attraction, the new movie that's coming out. And so we really want to create a lot of good hype around that piece and make sure that you're new and fresh, because if we put you out there on a Monday, by the time the weekend rolls around, you are old news. The other thing that's going to do for you is when we do have a strong market, it's also going to help from the standpoint of trying to position you to receive multiple offers, because typically when you hit on a Wednesday afternoon, you're not really going to get your first showing until maybe Thursday, late day, and of course going into Friday. And so then by the time they write the offer, it's usually late Friday afternoon, and typically you're going to have a 24-hour window to respond, which takes us into Saturday. So it just really sets a good tone for you to have some time to have several buyers get out there. And if you can then collect any additional offers, we can then do a highest and best, which takes us through till Monday. So again, if you have questions around that, I definitely want to make sure that we answer that when we get together, but I just wanted to share the strategies and thought processes behind some of that. We also like to do an open house. And during our open houses, we typically set those up for weekend number 2. We create a social media event, which we do through all of our social media channels, and people have to RSVP. It doesn't mean that you can't come if you don't RSVP, but it just kind of works to create that hype again. If time permits, we will also be doing some calling around and door knocking on that open house and putting up a ton of signage so that people are aware of it when the time comes for that open house. And so we've also, again, found that that's a really good strategic way to make sure people know about your property and continue to create that hype through that additional weekend. So with all of that said, I do like to mention that we have an appointment center. They're open 24/7. And once they receive a request, then you in turn will receive that request, and you have the ability to accept or decline that showing. And we can talk a little bit more about how that works as well when we're together and in person. And then I did want to share with you that when it comes to negotiation, I am a master certified negotiation expert. And what that means for you is that on average, I'm negotiating at a 2% higher rate than other agents. So whatever your sales price is, tack on another 2% because that's what you're going to be collecting when you work with me. Only 3% of agents across the country have that designation. The reason that that's so important for you is because in addition to just negotiating at a high level, I've also learned a skill set with different cultures, because different cultures negotiate differently. And one of the things that can be super frustrating for a seller is when you think you've come to an agreement and then all of a sudden they come back for more. And so I want to make sure that I help you to understand what you're walking into, and also give you some good advice and guidance on how we might hold back a little bit so that we still have something left to give when those types of scenarios happen. I think the key thing that sets us apart, and when people say, well, Christy, why are you different from other agents? A lot of those pieces that I just mentioned earlier are different from other agents, but you may hear a little bit of overlap. The key thing, though, that makes us different is how we protect our clients. We really pride ourselves on looking out for our clients, and we take it very seriously that when you sign a listing agreement with us, it means I owe you a duty to get you the best price and terms. That is my fiduciary responsibility to you. And so I want to make sure that if something is going a little sideways, that you're well protected and looked out for. So just as a simple example, during the Corona pandemic, one of the things that we were finding is that a lot of buyers were dropping out of contracts when their contingencies were passed and over. And so sellers were collecting earnest money. But it wasn't enough to make them feel good about the fact that they had lost that contract, because in Georgia, the standard rate that you typically will see is a 1% of the sales price. And so depending on your price, that's probably just not honestly going to be enough to make you feel okay about the fact that you just lost a deal when you thought you were getting ready to close. And so we've definitely taken steps to make sure that our clients are getting the money that is going to make them feel good if something were to not work out. That's one of the things that we've done. But in addition, you'll find that you typically are going to see a 3-week finance contingency. We will be reaching out to the lender. I typically will tell the other agent, the buyer's agent, that we will not be responding to their offer until I can actually speak to their lender and understand a little bit more about where the buyer is in the process. And so during that conversation with that lender, I'm going to be asking some questions like, are they self-employed? Because if they are, they have to have been self-employed for at least 2 years in order to be able to obtain the loan. The last thing that you want is to get 3 weeks down the road and then find out that the buyer is self-employed and has only been self-employed for 1 year, so they're not able to obtain that loan. And you'd be surprised how many times I've seen that happen with some of my other agent friends. And so that's one piece. Another thing I want to ask them is, have they collected pay stubs, bank statements, their taxes for the last 2 years? Because that helps us to understand how much they've really looked at this buyer and understand whether this buyer is really viable or not. If the buyer hasn't done those things, it doesn't mean that they're a bad buyer or not capable, but at least then you have some really good insight into where they are in the process and whether you want to take the risk to take your property off the market. So the one last thing I want to mention around contracts is that they are written by real estate attorneys. There's a lot of legalese, they're very long, they're very verbose, and most agents don't understand them or haven't taken the time to really go through all of those contracts. I require the people on my team to consistently take contracts classes so that we are all very well versed in those contracts, and so that we also have a good working knowledge of special stipulations that might protect our client or things to look out for. So I want you to know that when you do hire us, we're going to be looking out for you. We're going to be protecting you. And if no other agent has mentioned how they're going to look out for you and protect for you, it should be a huge red flag, because if they haven't mentioned it, guess what? They're not thinking about it, because it's the most important piece. So I do look forward to meeting you. Want to make sure we answer any and all questions. And there may be a little bit that I've left off here. So again, if there's anything that is important to you, please make sure that you bring that up when we do get together. And we'll be talking soon and hopefully working together soon as well. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.